This is the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast, where we talk about sports. It's NFL to the. That doesn't mean we won't have podcasts about other sports. It's just simply going to be NFL time for the next couple months, and we're going to have a multiple podcasts a week. This podcast is going to focus on NFL spreads going into the weekend and your betting action. I take these spreads right now from FanDuel. FanDuel is the spreads where I'm getting them from on Tuesday, and I try to make picks. So far, we are 44-32 through 5 weeks, 8-6 last week, coming off 12-4 every week. Massive winning side coming into this week. So welcome everybody to those regular listeners from Miami, Oshawa, Scarborough, Wisconsin, Washington State, and all around the world. So thank you very much once again. I can't say enough how much we appreciate the support. And we're going to take a look back at some of the losers, some of the winners last week, just quickly kind of give you my thoughts on some of the games and how they went. Now, what am I doing right now tonight for betting action? Well, it's NHL opening night for a few hockey fans out there. Now, I'm only mentioning this because I'm very frustrated, as I know that even as a hockey fan, how difficult and challenging it is to actually bet NHL action. So, for example, tonight I had two bets. I had a parlay with the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are heavy favorites, -2 something, over the Chicago Blackhawks, and I parlayed that with the over 7.5 alternate total in the baseball game, the Texas Rangers and the Baltimore Orioles. The baseball game finished over, no problem. Pittsburgh Penguins, I needed to win this game. Also, on a separate bet, I needed the game to go over 6.5. Pittsburgh's up 2-0 late in the second period. Chicago scores 4 unanswered goals to win the game on the road in Pittsburgh home opener. You know, at any time Pittsburgh has 4 Hall of Famers on the ice, and then they blow a lead and can't score in the third period. Chicago was doing nothing, had the odd chance here or there, and suddenly pop in 4 straight. And then the game finishes also under 4.5. A minute and a half, Pittsburgh pulls their goaltender again. Multiple chances even to make it 4-3, can't do it. So I will warn you out there, for those who don't know, I'm not trying to stop you from betting the NHL, but it's very challenging, especially when you're trying to pick a side, because there's so much parity on a night-to-night basis that you don't have a good feel, maybe as you do in football or the NBA, where upsets are less and less frequent. They're there, but the NHL is just ridiculous. I mean, Saturday nights are fun to bet, but it's hard to bank a bankroll, if that's a term you can use, on the NHL betting for sure. So that's just to piss me off, so I want to mention it. But back to football, and speaking of things that piss me off, is some of the highlights. The Bills early morning action, 9:30 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lose 25. Should have taken more of a look at the impact of the Jacksonville playing its second straight game in London, while the Bills had to travel that week and play obviously on shorter rest. Routine is much different, going through customs in a foreign country. So that had to play a factor, because the Bills did not look like the Bills. So let's call it what it is. The Bills lost, but a lot of that was based on travel. Baltimore was the real killer. I had them obviously on the podcast to cover that 4.5 over the Steelers. I also had them on a teaser where they were the final. All they had to do was win or not lose by 1.5, and they totally choked. I don't expect this from the Baltimore Ravens, the well-coached Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, not just him, he missed throws. He didn't come through a big interception. He had a lot of drop balls. Teammates not coming through for him. So I know he's going to get the heat. He's also going to get the success as the quarterback. But he had a lot of help to blow that game, and to give up on the defensive side. That late 30, 40-yard bomb, late like that, not even hold the Steelers to a field goal, is unbelievable. So the Ravens have every opportunity to take this division with the slow start to the Bengals. The Browns now facing a Deshaun Watson certainty with a shoulder injury. And the Steelers, really, I'm going to give Mike Tomlin a hand. I don't know how he's pulling out wins and making this team a 3-2 team. This team is not that good. This Pittsburgh Steelers team is, has some playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, Kenny Pickett, I'm unsure about. I don't know if he's the guy. He's either getting smoked, he's getting hammered, or he's getting sacked, or he's throwing picks. No pun intended. His name's Kenny Pickett. The way they're winning is just all over the place. And if you have a team just playing a solid game, you're going to knock off the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lost in Houston. You know what I mean? They got crushed by the 49ers, really maybe the best team in football. But limping by teams like Baltimore. Baltimore, man, you're blowing it. I know it's only early in the season, but that was pathetic, and you really screwed me. So that's what counts. Other matchups that stood out. Look, the New England Patriots losing 34-0 to the New Orleans Saints. Now, the New Orleans Saints, I came in thinking that their offense was not going anywhere. Boy, all they needed was a matchup with the New England Patriots. Interception for a pick six to open the floodgates. It's time that the Patriots seriously start thinking about Bill writing up that resume. Maybe, hey, Bill, maybe you drop him some hints like, Bill, man, you're getting up there in age. Hey, Bill, look at this property you could buy and retire. Hey, Bill, maybe it's time to go. Hey, Bill, yeah, we want to renovate your office with you out of there, without you in it. So you got to give the guy some subtle hints that, the question was always about Tom Brady or Bill Belichick. I think every game and every season we're seeing since Tom left, that we're seeing it was more of a Tom Brady situation. So that's really eye-opening. And the New York Giants suck. Miami Dolphins just smacked them around. Do you have any hope watching Daniel Jones, quarterback, that he's actually going to throw a forward pass? Side to side, side to side, side to side. It's like watching a tennis match. Man, he's awful. Daniel Jones. And he's just got a dumb look on his face, too. It's weird. And you have Indy, big blow. Richardson injured for weeks. However, having a rookie contract allows them to have a Gardner Minshew to keep their season alive. So lucky there. Other news and notes, Jets. Jets win in Denver. Denver is imploding. You watch that if they don't come through this week, at least to make it close against Kansas City, it's going to be chaos. This needs to be their Super Bowl this week, a divisional rival, and we're going to get to it. My pick may surprise you, but that's getting ugly and ugly fast. And Sean Payton's going to throw Russell Wilson under the bus. It's going to happen. Zach Wilson, solid game. If you follow snap by snap, the Jets seems like unless he has. So what they need to do, scrap by, and maybe they go in this week against the, they go in next week in their matchup and do the same thing. But interesting. The Jets are an interesting team. And finally, San Francisco crushes Dallas. I sat here and thought, regular season Dak Prescott may get the job done as far as at least keeping this game close. No. He looked exactly like he did against the 49ers in the playoffs the last two times. He doesn't look prepared. Either it's the coaching staff doesn't look prepared to adapt or make changes as the game's going on, because there's no positivity coming out of the Dallas side, and the 49ers just smacked them around. And where was the Dallas D? I have no idea where that was, because I don't know what game plan they were calling, but you have a time to test yourself against the best team in football, and you failed. So how about them Cowboys? Oh yeah, did forget about the Monday Nighter. I had Green Bay. Boy, did they choke. Also a case of, Jordan Love, for some reason, he only shows up in the second half. And Dobbs, pathetic drops, and that throw to the end zone that got picked off to end the game would not have happened if one of those guys would have stepped up and made a catch they should have made. So tough luck for Green Bay. And they got a bye week. That sucks going to a bye week on a loss like that. Now we head into week 6 of the NFL. It's going fast. Week 6, we're early on team, second buys. So we got a lot of matchups here. A lot of teams are turning off a bye. Thursday nighter, I guess you can consider it interesting. The Denver Broncos travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. The Chiefs, 10.5-point favorite. Are the Denver Broncos the worst team in football right now? How did Russell Wilson fall off a cliff this fast? This fast. Russell Wilson, when he was in Seattle not too long ago, seemed like he could pull a 3rd down and 12 by taking off out of the pocket just at the right time, sense pressure and avoid the sack. Throw a ball downfield, and it seemed to find the right guy. That is gone. They gave up multiple first round. They're in year 2. The Denver Broncos might be in big trouble, huge trouble. And Sean Payton, I don't know. I think he may have bit off more than he can chew, but this Bronco team might be the worst team in football. So it's going to play out. However, this Kansas City Chiefs team is the best team in football, I think, until otherwise told. But they're scraping by. They took out the Minnesota Vikings, but they didn't blow them out. And that was without Justin Jefferson the majority of the game. They almost choked. There was a couple of bad, maybe referee decisions. That game could have been tied in the fourth quarter, but they did win by 7. So I'm going to look at this game. I'm going to be very, very nice to the Denver Broncos. I'm going to think that, like I said earlier, this has got to be their Super Bowl. This has to be everything all in. Everybody's hyped up. Well, the Chiefs are rolling, ever since the night 1 against the Lions where they lost. Travis Kelce's questionable. He'll play, but his ankle's, maybe ginger there. And they're really spreading the ball around. They're, very monotonous with their drives. They're spreading the ball around, running the ball, short passes, getting everybody involved. And that's fine. They'll win this game. We've got a 10.5-point spread. And I'm going to get stupid and think that the Broncos will cover this spread. They'll have the game of the year, still be the worst team. It's those divisional matchups that I tend to, look a little differently than a regular matchup. These are divisional matchups. These teams know each other very well. And we'll see, but I'll take Denver on this one. Surprise, surprise. Sunday, we have another game. This one in London, final London game. Baltimore takes on Tennessee, 9:30 a.m. -4, Baltimore. Tennessee loses against Indianapolis. Tennessee's a nothing team. They have nothing going on for them. They're, again, a team that you have no sight of them winning a Super Bowl. You have no sight, you thought of them with a low draft pick to change the trajectory of their franchise by picking a franchise player. What is Tennessee? Tennessee has a Mike Vrabel who, at some point, is probably going to want to move somewhere where he can get a shot of building a program that actually might win. Ryan Tannehill, not his answer. He can only do so much with Derrick Henry. At some point, he'll fall off a cliff. So I think they've hit their peak. And Baltimore, after coming off that loss against Pittsburgh, I don't think they'll make the same mistakes that they did in that fourth quarter against Pittsburgh. So if this game is 17-10, that makes sense. And I don't see them choking the lead. Pittsburgh's better. Just some reason the organization is just better than Tennessee. So that's why they can come up with a win like that against Baltimore last week. So Baltimore -4. I don't have any problem taking that for them to cover the spread. Carolina goes to Miami. This is just an ugly matchup. 13.5 points. Miami has every angle covered on the offensive side of the ball. Mike McDaniels. Here's the thing. The 49ers, that's where he came from, under Shanahan, they tend to not take the foot off the gas. They keep coming at you from first quarter on and don't stop, offensively and defensively. And I think Miami's got a lot of that, right? They know they got to keep their weapons happy. They got to, hit, Tyreek Hill had 180 plus yards, whatever it was last week, compared to the 40 he had in Buffalo. You have to feed the man the ball. And they got to spread it out and make people happy. That's what keeps this team going, right? They got a lot of touches here. So maybe it's Jalen Waddle's week. We know it's not going to be they got issue with Devon Atchin. Atchin is that guy's fast, man. The running back for Miami, fast. Well, he's out. So Mostert's going to get a lot of touches. So is it going to be a run game? Is it going to be a Waddle day? Or is it going to be, again, Tyreek Hill? A lot of weapons. Miami, 13.5 point, but they will light it up. Carolina has nothing going for them. They have nothing going for them. They might as well put Bryce Young out there. You know, Adam Thielen's playing well. He's their only weapon, it seems, but they are going nowhere, and it's a development year, so I don't really get scared about that 13.5 point spread. And here's where you got to think, right? You have Jacksonville coming off a big win against Buffalo, 4.5 point favorites over Indy, but what did Jacksonville really do? You know, Trevor Lawrence played well, and it was against a defense in Buffalo that had guys kept going down. Milano going down, broken leg, and they were banged up, and they were already in a situation where they had to travel and where Jacksonville did not. Indianapolis, Gardner Minshew is going to be quarterbacking, and I think for right now, he still makes Indy a threat, and he's got enough snaps already. He's not coming in cold. He's been very successful in wins in Baltimore and holding on against Tennessee. Obviously, Richardson is the guy that they need to develop to be a Super Bowl contender. Minshew's not going to do that. But I do see the Colts playing well in this game and staying in it. You know, that's my former team, right? It's his first team, and he's going to want to play, and he's going to want to play well, and they will. 4.5, too much. I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts in this one. All right. Minnesota, Chicago. This is very, very interesting. Vikings are a 2.5 point favorite on the road in Chicago. What do we know? We know that the Chicago Bears walked in 0-4 to Washington, crushed the Washington Commanders. Justin Fields played well. I know he played really well, no question. Moore, wide receiver, amazing. 3 touchdowns, probably should have been 4. But what else do we know? We know that the Washington Commanders suck. Washington Commanders are not a measuring stick to a successful season by taking them out. What else do we know? We know that Justin Jefferson is out for 4 games. The odds are that the Minnesota Vikings are very close to probably pulling the chute on the season and looking at the trade deadline in a few weeks to unload some of their high-ticket items to maybe get some draft capital and kind of move in a different direction. Can't move too far because they have, Justin Jefferson. But that might even mean like Kirk Cousins might be the guy who's out the door. We don't know. But I don't think it's this game. I think the 2.5 points is value. They played the Chiefs hard with the majority of the game without Jefferson. I think Kirk Cousins, I think about when Denver walked into Chicago. Let's not pretend we think Chicago's more than what we know, and that is showed sides of life. But Minnesota's a better team. They are a better team. They will score more points and probably put Justin Fields on the back foot and not be in the lead the whole game where they feel comfortable, where they can dictate the tone and not really worry about managing the clock. That's not going to happen. It's going to be Minnesota. I think there's tremendous value. New Orleans goes into Houston. And that 34-0 performance against New England really opened my eyes. That New England sucks, by the way. I can't express that enough, how bad the things are going in New England. But it may have awakened the offense. And having Alvin Kamara back as that threat out of the backfield, both running and catching the ball, is maybe allowed Derek Carr to focus on, if I don't find my top receivers like Thomas, I just check down to Kamara. I have so many weapons. I don't have to dump the ball or allow them to make plays on the ball. And I think he does that against Houston. I think Houston game, CJ Stroud had a solid game, but they struggled against Atlanta. Atlanta has a good D, but so do the New Orleans Saints. And I think you'll see Cam Jordan pressure CJ Stroud. And if you give me New Orleans 1.5 points in Houston, where Houston just lost by 2 to Atlanta on the road. I think New Orleans is a better team than Atlanta. I'll take that all day. I'll take New Orleans 1.5. San Francisco, 5.5 points over Cleveland, heading into Cleveland. Cleveland, Deshaun Watson, day-to-day, bum shoulder. Will he play? He obviously missed the game against the Ravens, had a bye week, and is still day-to-day. And even if Deshaun Watson was fully healthy, why don't I think the 49ers wouldn't smash the Cleveland Browns? Their offense wasn't going yet when Deshaun Watson was healthy. He's an upgrade, obviously, to what they've had over the last few years. However, when Baker Mayfield, I'm going to say a few years because Baker, but what I'll say is the 49ers are the best team of football right now until otherwise injuries pile up. That's the only thing that's going to stop them. You know, they switched from McCaffrey getting 3 touchdowns a game to now Kittle 3 touchdowns in a game. They have way too many weapons. Brock Purdy is just, doing his job, putting the game, like the coaching, the game plan, all the weapons that they have, they may be unstoppable. And then on defense, the ball hogs that they have, it's not fair. And Cleveland's not going to hang here because San Francisco's not going to slow down on either side of the ball. They're relentless, they're dangerous, and they're going to crush the Cleveland Browns. 5.5, take the 49ers. What an intriguing matchup here. You got Seattle Seahawks coming off a bye week, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who looked a little better. Jamar Chase over 100 yards receiving, knocking off the Arizona Cardinals. Offense may be rolling. Burrow, Joey B might still be fragile. He's always a risk to get injured. But going the Cincinnati Bengals, since they're 2.5-point favorites at home against the Seattle Seahawks, I think you have a stock on the rise. If anything we've known in the last few years, Cincinnati has a slow start. They really had a slow start this year. But let's bank on the trend over the last 2 previous seasons where when they get on track, man, they get on track. They're on fire. So take the Bengals, 2.5 over the Seahawks at home. Washington Commanders, Atlanta Falcons. Falcons 2.5-point favorites. This is not going to... The only cities going to be watching this game is Atlanta and Washington, obviously, and what clips you'll see on Red Zone. Atlanta being a favorite in any ball game. I don't care if they beat Houston at home last week. I'm going to take Atlanta. I'm going to take Washington in this one. Washington's had 10 days to work on the disaster what was that game against the Bears. Their defense has to show up, slow down Bijan Robinson, Desmond Ridder, and I got to believe that Washington. I got to take Washington. I just don't believe in it. Now we hit the 4 p.m. slate. I'm glad we got 4 games this time. I know we had 4 games last week, but when they do 3 games, I don't know why they just don't even out the 1 o'clock and the 4 o'clock games. I'm sure, obviously, it's TV numbers. However, I think us bettors want an even amount for each time slot because we've got to chase our money, of course. New England heads into Las Vegas. 3.5-point underdogs against the Golden Knights because the Golden Knights are playing in front of me against the Seattle Kraken in the NHL. But the Vegas Raiders, who had a big win over the Green Bay Packers, Jimmy G played solid. All right, Adams late in the game started to come on. A lot of stuff going well for the Vegas Raiders. Crosby on the defensive side, dominant, difference maker. And I don't see any improvement, any signs of life. At home, they can score a point against New Orleans. What makes us believe that New England is coming in here with any shot at all? What's going to happen? And again, I tell you to take your papers out, take your clipboard out, make notes. Is that it was last week, and it's going to be the Billy Zapp story. It's going to happen. Mac Jones is going to explode. He came from a college program in Alabama where they didn't lose a lot. I don't see a guy has a temperament to put up with crap. Sometimes he is the crap. some quote this week after the game, you can't make garbage smell good. That's not good. That's probably not going to get the favorable of the locker room in the, the film session when that quote comes up. So New England's going nowhere fast. I don't know what their strategy, I don't know what their game plan is, what their strategy is, but I see the Vegas Raiders, Josh Jacobs, combination of Jimmy G, obviously against Billy B as motivation as well. So take the Raiders, 3.5. Arizona, LA Rams. Cooper Kupp coming back with a vengeance, but they did lose against the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Arizona Cardinals losing to the Cincinnati Bengals at home. But let's look at the two situations here. The two situations are that the Rams lost to a better team. No Eagles are perfect. Look as dominant maybe as last year at this point, but they're simply one of the best teams in football. So the Rams losing to them, not so much of a concern when I look at this line. I think Arizona keeps showing life. Joshua Dobbs is doing a better than expected job that I thought putting yards on the board. But at the same time, there's still the Arizona Cardinals. James Conner out, running back, which, he's always a dependable running back. That's the thing with a team like Arizona. As soon as they start losing guys to injuries, they get thinner and thinner in positions that they were already thin on. And when they go into LA at home, LA will start putting points on the board. Stafford will, hit Nakua and Kupp and just all those weapons. And I see a comfortable win with LA. So I'll take the 7. No problem. All right, I'll take the Rams over Arizona by 7. Detroit heads into Tampa. Now, this is a game where you're thinking, okay, it's got to be Detroit, right? It has to be the Lions. Lions have looked great. Let's not kid ourselves. They look fantastic. But they have hiccups like every other team. They're not there yet. Let's not pretend that the Kansas City Chiefs they have faults. And when you take this team to the Heat in Tampa Bay at a 4:00 game, I think you'll start to see some stuff here. I think you'll start to see some weaknesses with the Lions. I think they'll put up a good show, but this is one of those blip weeks where Baker Mayfield, who's been very solid for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a bye week, I think get the job done and knock off the Lions here. So take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers straight up, but we're going against the spread, so +3, whatever you want, for some cushion for the pushing, just in case there's a field goal. So if you have that +3 and they lose by 3, there's a pushing, so cushion for the pushing. Not sure what else you thought I meant by that. Anyway, also going into the 4:00 to finish it off, the 4:00 games, you have the Philadelphia Eagles, undefeated. Philadelphia Eagles head into MetLife Stadium and take on the New York Jets. The Eagles are 7-point favorites. What do you do here, right? That Jets defense is outstanding. Their offense has been solid, as solid as can be, probably from the get-go versus chasing probably just in the first half league against the Denver and staying within distance where they didn't have to, be down by multiple scores and put the ball up in the air too many times. I say their defense and playing at home is going to give them that edge to keep this game close. So I like the Jets to cover by 7. Again, the Eagles have not been dominant. They have in aspects like some games when they run the ball or they have the weapons to be dominant, but you know what? Can't you see the Eagles winning here by 4 or 5 and maybe pulling away in the third quarter? But I'll take the Jets to cover 7 points. And we got a real dog for the 8:00 game. The New York Giants take on the Buffalo Bills. And the Bills are 14-point favorites. I mean, this is one of those games, like, the Dallas-San Francisco game. You look at that game as the top game of the day. A lot of story, headlines. Can the Cowboys step up? Can they do something? But you got a game here where a team's favored by 14 points. And the Giants are going to throw the ball left and right instead of north and south. And lost. They literally beat the crap out of Washington. Oh, no, they beat the crap out of the Raiders. They smoked both these. Like, they went on a run. And you telling me that the Bills are not going to put up some numbers here against the Giants? It's going to get ugly. So let's not pretend that the Giants have any shot. I'll take the Bills minus 14. Good Monday nighter, though. Cowboys looking to revenge their brutal game against San Francisco, against another high-scoring team, but also not to the level of the 49ers taking on the Chargers. Cowboys are actually a 2.5-point favorite. I want to take the Chargers here. I really do, based on what I saw on Sunday. But you know how it is when the Cowboys look like absolute trash. They come back, and obviously the Chargers are not at anywhere close to the caliber of the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, I do expect Khalil Mack to be a problem for Dak Prescott, but not enough. I think the Dallas defense steps back up. I think the Cowboys do enough on offense to keep control and possession of the ball. So I had my pick down as the Chargers here, but let me backtrack. And I'm going to no way they get embarrassed 2 nights in a row, and Dak redeems himself at least for another week. That's it. That is the week at hand. You know, at least 8 of those are going to be winners based on the history so far. Not a losing week. I feel good about this week. For fun, of course. I'm not asking you to put anything you don't owe on any games. I'll leave that to your discretion, but use good judgment. The pleasure's all been yours, of course. And the overrated experience is over, and it is out. Bye-bye.